Hey guys, and welcome to another project, Amberlight. So we haven't started editing yet because our editor is on another job. So I was saying last week that I would talk a little bit about some of the things that I've learned through the process of doing this film. One of the things that really struck me was working with actors because, I've been on one side of the fence going in for auditions and receiving, scripts and stuff like that. But it was really interesting being on the other side of that. Some actors, when they do self-tapes, they didn't get a reader in with them. So I don't know, I thought it would be obvious that you would read with somebody, but either they would record themselves saying the other line. It's a sort of a 5 on the weirdometer. Some actually just didn't have anybody read the other lines. They would just have this sort of weird one-sided conversation with yourself. So yeah, that was kind of eye-opening to see how other actors approach going for an audition. The other thing I found a bit odd was that there were some people who saw things in the script that they clearly didn't know what they were or what they were referencing, but they didn't bother either to work out how to pronounce it or what it was. Like, there's a reference to Lennon and McCartney in the script, and one girl said Lennon and McCarthy, and I'm thinking, if these are names in a script, like, why don't you even just Google Lennon and McCartney and see what comes up? Just Google it. When I see stuff in a script and if I don't know what it is, I just quickly Google it. What does that mean? Or if I see a place reference, I quickly Google it. What does that place look like? It doesn't take you 5 seconds. It's not like this is the 50s where you would have to sort of get out your Encyclopedia Britannica. You can just Google it. So I find that a bit strange. You can tell this is like a real bugbear of mine. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to sort of shade like because the thing is I suppose at the end of the day, people are only doing this because they don't know what they don't know. So every one of us has been a learner driver. It's like a driver getting pissed off with a new driver. It's like you don't know what you don't know. But I think it's something that actors should consider, is just like, make sure you understand what you're reading and Google stuff. It's fun. And then the other interesting thing was being in the room with actors, because I was actually quite nervous to start with, because I thought, because we had people go on tape to start with and then we saw them in the room. So we've made people jump through quite a lot of hoops, because I wasn't in the country at the time. So we made people jump through quite a lot of hoops to get as far as being in the room. So we had to sort of bring our game, sort of thing, and know how to work actors and know how to sort of give adjustments and stuff like that. So that was like quite a thing of just like, oh shit, it wasn't what I wanted, but I don't know how to ask for what I want, and just coming up with little improvs that they could do. Because I feel like when I go in for something, because I get quite nervous like going in for stuff, I want to be able to have a chance to relax and to have a bit of a play, do you know what I mean? Rather than just like come in and go, oh, I think he went that way, and then you get out. I mean, I'm talking about for bigger roles. If it's a 2-line thing, then obviously just get in, say the words and just get out. But yeah, so I wanted to sort of give the actors an opportunity to sort of relax into it and just sort of have a bit more fun with it. So I had them do a bit of an improv, and I paired, because obviously it's 2 lead characters really that we were looking for. They were the most important roles to cast, so I paired people up and sort of had them have a bit of a play. That's what I would want, rather than that sort of get in, get it read, get out sort of vibe. And I know casting directors are busy and stuff, so I know that it's not always practical, but I feel like for what we were doing, I could give that to the actors, and I hope it helped. I hope they weren't like, I just want to get out of here. So yeah, the other thing I realised as well about all of that, though, is that because I am not, sorry, the light keeps auto exposure, whatever it is. Anyways, because I'm not a professional casting director, and because I've only done it a few times, probably a casting director would know how to get their sort of top 10 or top 20 quicker than I did, and they would probably have just done the whole process a lot quicker. But it took me a long time of whittling down. Like, I think I started with 60 guys and 60 girls. Yeah, there's a lot of, it's quite a painstaking process of having, you know, to do lists and make sure you've got the right contact details for agents, and making sure that, for example, all the girls were over 16, so we didn't have to have chaperones and teachers on set and stuff like that. Like, if I did something next time, I might work with it. I might have get a casting director involved. I mean, casting directors do work on short films, but obviously because short films have got such small budgets, and because they usually don't make a profit, it's an expense that sometimes people try and, I suppose, circumnavigate because, you know, they got a limited budget. But it would, and maybe you would get access to a broader pool of actors if the casting director is going directly to some top agents or something like that. I don't know. And then I think as well, just like working with actors, kind of like once we cast the people that we had in the film, I think that thing of like learning how to have a conversation with actors about the role and the scene and the moment that you're trying to create, because I know that what can be frustrating for actors is when the director is fixated on the result. So, like, for example, when I was at film school, I noticed that a lot of times when people were talking to actors, it was like, you're supposed to cry here, you're supposed to stand up here, you're supposed to be angry, sort of thing. But I think what I learned is that you've got to presence what the history is of that moment, and then it's for the actor to decide how that shows up. Do you know what I mean? Like, rather than going, and then she cries, even though that's what you might have written in the script, you've got to say, well, what's happened is that you're devastated that this thing has happened to you, and that you can't see a way out, and so in this moment you're just pleading with this person to help you. And then from there the actor goes, oh, well, that would feel like this, and then you shoot that, and you keep having to presence the backstory, the right backstory, until you get what you want, rather than say, look, just cry. I don't think I did that. I learned watching the rushes back how, and I learned this from our editor really, is that people like to see the moment a decision is made. I suppose you might call them transitions or whatever, but people, that's what's really about watching a really great actor, is you see that moment when they make a choice, or something changes, or their emotions move from one thing to another. And so yeah, I learned that those moments are really important, and you don't want to be telling the actor, right, I need to see you transition, but I suppose you do want to ask, I want to see that moment where you decide, or you decide. I think in this scene you decide to tell that person blah blah blah, or in that moment you decide that this is the best woman in the world. You know, whatever, I don't know, whatever the decision or the choice or the change is. I think you want to see that. So, and also seeing each moment filled. This is a bit blah blah blah. I'm a bit sort of rambling a bit, but I learned so much, like especially watching stuff back, because as an actor, you don't get to watch anything back in its rawest state, as in the rushes. You very rarely see that stuff unless you made it yourself. So it was really interesting for me to be sitting down and just going, that's why that scene works, or that's why that's really good, is because when he or she did this, I could feel what they were feeling. So yeah, that was really good. In the casting as well, so just going back to casting, I did notice it was really interesting seeing all the different things that can happen with actors, and how as a casting person you experience them. Like when people were nervous, I suppose because I've been an actor, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but I feel like sometimes nerves stop people getting jobs. But I could see that this person was a good actor, they were just a bit shaky, you know, but I didn't want that. I didn't want to be one of those people that just goes, they won't be good on set. Maybe because personally I'm nervous with the casting director, but on set I'm fine because I've got the job, you know what I mean? So I can now I can just play and do my job. But yeah, and also when you have a good rapport with an actor, it does make a difference in that you just think, yeah, that person's going to be fun to have around, you know. Like there was one person that came in who we really liked, all three of us in the room like really liked this person, but they weren't quite getting the role. So I thought to myself, I'd love to work with that person again. So so people like that stick in your mind. So I don't mean, I'm not telling actors to force banter like with the with the casting director. But if being nice and being friendly when you go into the room, it makes a difference, because you just think, oh, that's a decent person. Like if I have something that's more right for them, I'd love to bring them in again. Conversely, there was somebody that came in, and I don't know whether they were trying to stay in character or they just had a really uncomfortable energy, and it wasn't just me. Like everyone said that they just didn't, who was in the room, just didn't feel comfortable around that person, my experience of this person after they come in was, or my experience of this person after they left was that I was thinking, I wouldn't want to be on set with that person. No, I wouldn't want to be around them, because especially when, and I've heard this from like major casting directors, especially when they're casting big shows, series regulars. Not only are they seeing, can you act? Are you right for the role? Are you available? Do you want to do it? But are you a dick? Because think about it. You cast somebody in the lead and they're a prick. You've got to be dealing with this person for, 5, 6, 7 years. And it doesn't matter how good they are, doesn't matter what their profile is, if they're an asshole, it's going to be a nightmare for everybody. I don't know if actors can even do anything with that information. I think it's just a case of, it is what it is. Some people have got that like sort of clunky vibe when they go into a room, and some people haven't. But I think the more you can do to not, the better you're going to get on without compromising yourself. Because if you do want to go in character, go in half in character. That's what I would say. Don't go full psycho. You never go full retard.
Never go full retard.
Do you know what I mean? Like, go halfway, be able to be polite with the person that brings you into the room, with the casting director, and then you're already halfway there, and then you just make that final leap, rather than go in like intense and weird, and like they're thinking, is that your personality or is that you being in the character? Either way, you made a weird decision. Weird choices. That's what it comes down to with actors, I think, is that we so want the role, and we're so open and vulnerable and odd people that are sort of trying to do something with our odd, weird vulnerability, that sometimes those weird choices can just lose us the job. I was casting something else a while ago, and we were looking for, I think it was a guy who was a dancer. His backstory was that he was a dancer and he'd come to LA to sort of make his way. We were looking through headshots, and one guy had superimposed his own face on the, I think it's the Skyfall. That was his headshot. That was his way of, his professional photo or for the industry to make a decision about whether they would like to work. I loved that he did it, but I just think, wow. That's a little bit about what I've learned from shooting Amber. Yeah, well, there'll be another, let me know if this is useful, interesting, or whatever. Just leave a comment or something. Oh God, I've opened a floodgate. But yeah, let me know, because while we're not editing, it's nice to keep the vlog going. So yeah, it'd be handy to know if this is useful, if you want me to talk about something else. I think that's all I'm going to say. All right, listen, there'll be another episode next week. See ya.